Welcome to the Department of Correction. I'd like to take a moment to share several videos which will help you better understand our operations, programs, and services. We hope that after viewing these videos, you will have a better understanding of our vision, mission, and strategic goals. I would like to thank you for your continued support, and for more information, please visit our website.
I'm here now with Jaylene Hopkins. She's the Deputy Director of Program Services for the Massachusetts Department of Correction. We're going to speak a little bit about the reentry process, what that looks like, and what the Program Services Division does. Morning, Jaylene.
Good morning.
So walk us through, everybody talks about reentry, and that's a big buzzword, and we talk about reentry starts at day one of the incarceration. What's that really mean?
When an offender first enters the system, they're administered a risk assessment. From that point, if they score moderate to high, they're then given a needs assessment. That needs assessment determines their programming throughout their incarceration. Their personalized program plan is developed for each inmate based on those needs.
So after they have their risk needs assessment and they move on to the facility that they're going to be housed at, they have a program that's sort of set in place for them?
Sure. For inmates who score moderate to high in a particular need area, say anger management, for example, they'll be recommended or referred to programming to address that need. And that plan follows them throughout their incarceration until they have addressed all of their need areas.
So you use the example of anger management as one of the programs. Are there any other type of programs that maybe people wouldn't think of that we generally give to a large majority of the inmates?
Sure. We offer a residential substance abuse program called the Correctional Recovery Academy. We offer substance abuse education, co-occurring disorders, which addresses both substance abuse and mental health issues, criminal thinking, violence reduction.
So a large majority of the inmates are substance abusers that come into the system?
Yes, I would say about 80% are substance abusers.
Typically, an inmate that comes into the system would go through some kind of CRA program. Can you give me an idea of what that CRA program looks like?
The Correctional Recovery Academy is an intensive 6-month residential treatment substance abuse program where the inmates live in a common housing unit. The participants are required to attend 5 days of classes per week, along with 12.5 hours of structured curriculum-driven activity. The curriculum is based upon the principles of cognitive behavioral treatment, and the program focuses on substance abuse issues and problems, and the offenders actually participate in the development of an individualized treatment plan. The program also focuses on the skills necessary for relapse prevention, as well as the skills to be part of a community setting. As part of that community setting, the offenders are encouraged to make each other aware when they notice another offender participating or displaying negative or antisocial behavior, as well as acknowledging when another offender is displaying appropriate or pro-social behavior. The program has 3 phases. When an offender is in phase 2 or 3, they're required to act as mentors to offenders who are coming into the program, kind of to give them encouragement and support.
So they learn coping skills, how to sort of avert some of the behavior that they've had prior to being incarcerated?
Yes, as well as working in a community and how to help each other out, pull each other up.
So the community is just a sense to sort of give themselves support?
Absolutely.
Do they hold each other accountable in the community?
They do.
Are there rules that govern that whole thing?
Sure, there are a lot of rules. There are cardinal rules, and then there are rules that they all have to participate in committees, whether it be a beautification committee or a cleanup committee. And they help each other out with classwork, things like that. They each have a treatment plan, an individual treatment plan that they work on. They have goals that they are working towards.
Somebody gets incarcerated in the system, and we come up with this treatment program that they're supposed to be taking part in. As they attend some of these classes and have successfully completed some of the programs, does that treatment plan and that program plan sort of morph into something else? Does it change? Is it like this is it, these are the things that you have to do from start to finish, or does that change along the way?
It's pretty much from start to finish, this is what you need to do, and as they address those needs, it shows that they've completed that area, okay, and then they'll go on to address another area. There's also a low-risk alternative track of programming available for supplemental programming, or maybe if they're at a facility that doesn't address that need area, that doesn't have a program to address it, then they can participate. Say they didn't have the Correctional Recovery Academy at the facility the inmate was at who has a substance abuse need, they would be referred to an AA or a substance abuse education class.
So something similar to what they really fits their needs.
Exactly.
Okay. So if somebody comes into the system and they're a high-risk person, they have the typical track of programming that they would attend, and that's sort of facilitated by, you know, vendors and staff that work there every day. If somebody comes in low risk, you know, how's that work for them?
An offender who comes in and scores low on their risk assessment is then referred to a low-risk alternative track of programming, and that program is generally facilitated by volunteers. Volunteers are essential to our reentry continuum. They offer programming everywhere from faith-based programming to cognitive skills to money management. So those offenders who do score low are given the opportunity to participate in programming.
Is there a large track of program that's available for them that's volunteer-led?
Absolutely. I mean, there's 1,500 volunteers. As I said, they participate, they facilitate everything from faith-based, cognitive skills, money management, Toastmasters, which is teaches them how to speak correctly.
You hear a lot about good time, and inmates are offered good time, which is essentially time off their sentence, for programming that they're involved in. Does any of the volunteer program make them eligible for good time?
There are some volunteer programs that are eligible. It's basically determined by the program, the content, the curriculum, things like that will determine if it's going to allow or award earned good time.
So there is a benefit for inmates to attend programming, whether it's staff-driven or volunteer-driven?
Yes.
So Jaylene, we talked about the treatment program. Is there any kind of specialized treatment for any particular segment of the population that we have as inmates?
Offenders who are identified as sex offenders are recommended to sex offender treatment programming. We do offer a assessment and treatment introduction at MCI Norfolk, NCCI Gardner, and Old Colony Correctional Center. From there, the offender would go to the Massachusetts Treatment Center, where they would participate in a assessment and treatment preparation phase, and that phase determines which track of programming, whether they need residential or non-residential. And then they would participate in whichever track they were referred to.
So we've talked about the programming, and we've talked about when they first come in, they have a risk needs assessment, and it follows them through their incarceration. Let's talk about somebody that's getting prepared to be released and their discharge plan. What's that process look like?
Okay, so offenders who, essentially when they first come into the department, we start the discharge process no matter how long their sentence is. We encourage them to get their birth certificate. We encourage them to get their Social Security card, things like that, so that when they do get closer to release, they are prepared. At 6 months to release, a list is generated and a meeting is held for each inmate who is within 6 months to determine their needs, whether it be housing, substance abuse, mental health. So we have a whole group of people who get together and will discuss the inmate's needs. We also have housing search specialists who work with those offenders who are at risk for homelessness, trying to find placement for them prior to their release. About 90% of our offenders leave with a Mass Health card.
If somebody doesn't have somewhere to go, you know, a friend or a family member, or maybe it's an inappropriate placement for somebody so they can't go back to someone's home that they know, what types of places are they sort of set up with to go?
Depending on what the offender's needs are, if the offender some may need a halfway house, some may need a more secure treatment center. So the housing search specialist will work with that offender, will work with programs. We have a what's called HRSA. It's a housing resource search application where the housing search specialist can go right in and find a home, whether it be a sober home, treatment facility. There's just a variety of places they can look.
So an inmate that's about to release back to the community, we've sort of worked out that they get Mass Health card if they're eligible for something like that. We help them to get a Social Security card, a few other things. Is there any type of resume building or something where they can take all of the certificates and the certifications that they've gotten through their incarceration and put them into a resume and maybe help them to get a job when they release?
Sure. We provide an employment and readiness workshop. It's a 2-week workshop. Offenders who are within 18 months of release are invited to participate. During that workshop, they are giving resources in their particular community where they're going to. They learn how to, they will build a resume. They'll also create a portfolio, which includes all their certificates for any program that they participated while incarcerated. There's a form in there for potential employers. It's a work tax credit form that is signed off by a records manager from the facility before they leave. And that portfolio will, once completed, will follow them until they leave, until their incarceration is over.
Does an inmate have to participate in all of these things, like the discharge plan? I mean, is it up to them? Is it incumbent upon them to sort of just say, hey, look, I want to be part of this process, and you guys put the wheels in place, or are they all forced to take part in that?
They're not forced. It's not mandated. As far as the discharge planning process, we always have somebody working on an inmate's release, whether they're involved or not. We do try to engage them. We do everything we can to encourage them to participate in as many programs as they can, to participate in the discharge process. We verify release addresses if they tell us they're going somewhere. We may encourage them to seek an alternate release address if it's a high-risk situation for them.
All right, well, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.